thank you sincerely to all of you who have gotten involved in the Defend the Children initiative, where we copy, paste, and put our comments into the Federal Register. Guess what? It's working. Today, December 4th, which is the last day to submit your comments until 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time, 39 GOP senators decided they were going to stand with us and sent a letter to HHS officials with their comments about why this rule is potentially dangerous and illegal. I will read that letter to you, and thank you, 39 senators. And again, thank you to all of you that are doing this. Go to truthtrench.org/defendthechildren for all of the instructions and how to help. Go onto the Federal Register and submit as many comments as you can. Even one comment helps if we can get everyone to do this. Dear Director Dunn Marcos and Acting Assistant Secretary Hild, in September, you approved the Unaccompanied Children Program Foundational Rule, which contains a number of alarming, dangerous, and potentially illegal provisions. This proposed rule ignores nearly 7 years of oversight conducted by Congress and the Office of Inspector General and reveals chronic foot dragging, if not total reluctance, when it comes to protecting vulnerable children. It provides ample protections to government bureaucrats at the expense of children. Even more concerning, the requirements being adopted in this proposed rule are already being enforced by ORR. In FY 2021, the Office on Trafficking in Persons saw a more than 140% increase from the previous year in requests for assistance on behalf of foreign national children. The majority of these requests were for unaccompanied alien children between the ages of 13 and 17. Despite the staggering number of unaccompanied children, the proposed rule makes most vetting for sponsors of unaccompanied minors simply optional. ORR keyword may require an investigation of the living conditions, verification of the identity and employment of the individuals offering support, interviews of members of the household, a home visit, review of sponsors' past criminal history, fingerprinting, consulate checks of sponsor identification, or a background check on the proposed sponsor. However, these basic checks are not necessary to receive custody of a child. In fact, ORR does not even consider a sponsor's criminal record, current illegal drug use, history of abuse or neglect, or other child welfare concerns, necessarily disqualifying to potential sponsorship. ORR would not disqualify potential sponsors based solely on their immigration status or employment status, even if the sponsor was a complete stranger to the child. In effect, ORR accepts a sponsor's representations almost entirely on face value. ORR then delivers the child at taxpayer expense and free of cost to the unvetted sponsor, opening up the possibility that a vulnerable child could fall into the hands of a potentially criminal or drug-addicted sponsor. At this point, ORR considers its work largely done. ORR assumes no role or responsibility in preventing a child sponsor from giving him or her away after placement. According to the proposed rule, ORR is not proposing to require that the sponsor seek ORR's permission to transfer custody of the unaccompanied alien child. It simply retains an interest in knowing this information. ORR will conduct a home study for a child who's been a victim of physical or sexual abuse. If the physical or sexual abuse occurred under circumstances that indicate the child's health or welfare has been significantly harmed or threatened. However, the rule does go on to note that if ORR checks up on the child, it will inform the potential sponsor whenever it plans to conduct a home study. This would allow a criminal sponsor enough time to destroy evidence and intimidate the child. Worse, the proposed rule allows ORR to conduct certain safety and well-being check-ins virtually. ORR also neglects to ensure a sponsor's legal immigration status. ORR will not share any immigration status information relating to potential sponsors with any law enforcement or immigration-related entity at any time. ORR appears equally ambivalent to the child's criminal conduct. Its influx facilities simply separate those unaccompanied alien children who have perpetuated sexual abuse. In fact, ORR would like to ensure law enforcement is called in response to an unaccompanied alien child's behavior only as a last resort. And a call by a care provider facility to law enforcement may trigger an evaluation of staff involved regarding their qualifications. Recognizing its conduct is objectionable. ORR's proposed rule protects the organization from congressional scrutiny by forcing whistleblowers to identify themselves to ORR before going to Congress. ORR's whistleblower retaliation is so pervasive that the Department of Health and Human Services Office of Inspector General recommended mandatory whistleblower protection training in 2022. The Assistant Secretary for Children and Families concurred with this recommendation and acknowledged whistleblower protections are a key mechanism for ensuring the safety and well-being of all children in ORR care. Yet, in a shocking reversal, ORR now proposes that employees, former employees, or contractors must not disclose unaccompanied alien children's case file records or provide information about UACs, their sponsors, family, or household members to anyone without first providing advance notice to ORR. This advance notice requirement expressly captures protected whistleblower disclosures and appears designed to keep employees quiet in violation of the Whistleblower Protection Act and other whistleblower protection provisions. ORR's proposed rule abdicates the agency's responsibility for protecting the vulnerable children in its custody from harmful behavior by poorly vetted potential criminals. For these services, the taxpayer paid ORR $5.5 billion in FY 2022. The proposed rule is wholly unworkable, and ORR should discard it and its current practices. If not, Congress will have no choice but to introduce a resolution of disapproval under the Congressional Review Act. Here are the 39 senators standing with us in this fight. It takes all of us. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. Children should be protected no matter what. Do you see how awesome it is when we all work together? We can do this, guys.